I'm Mega Mike the Movie Man, and today I got a mega movie plan. Today I'm back with another mega ranking for you all. I'm going to be ranking all 5 new movies I saw at the movie theaters in the month of January, from the worst to the best. So if you want to see my number 1 favorite new theatrical release, make sure you stick around to the end of the video for that number 1 choice. But without further ado, let's get started.
She'll be better off here.
No, she won't.
What's her name?
Now coming in at a very clear last place on my number 5 spot is gonna be Redeeming Love. Wow, this movie was a disappointment. And I wasn't even excited for this movie. I was expecting a pretty mum movie, and it still did lower than those expectations. This movie was just terrible. It failed at everything it was trying to be. It's supposed to be a Western romance, but it was not a good Western. It was not a good romance. So it just failed, and nothing stood out in this movie. There was no great performances, no great music, no great environments, and the initial setup of the movie was fine enough. They could have taken it somewhere, being during the time of the gold rush, but it just didn't go anywhere. And it just kept showing the main character repeating the same mistakes over and over again, just going back into all these destructive behaviors, but it would keep repeating it and would never get to the point of the movie until the last 10 minutes of the movie. And this movie was outrageously long. It was like 2 hour 30-minute plus of a movie. What is this? Is this trying to be Infinity War here? No, it is not at Infinity War level. I don't know why this movie was outrageously long. It went barely anywhere. And like I said, my expectations were pretty low for this movie going into it, but it even disappointed with that. I was expecting at least a decent romance movie. Not much romance in there. Nothing could redeem this movie from being at that very last spot.
You are leaving us, Marie-Joseph.
Where am I going?
To a lavish and glimmering hell.
At my number 4 spot is going to be The King's Daughter. Now, initially, I was kind of excited for this movie. I'm not going to say really excited because I never heard of this movie before, but I knew it took 7 years to develop and finally get to the big screen. So if you're going to take 7 years to make a movie and get it to the big screen, it better be pretty good. But it was not. This movie initially had a decent little setup. I was ready for a fun fantasy adventure movie. I was hoping for something like The Princess Bride. But no, it just was a complete misfire everywhere in the movie. To me, it was just so cheaply done. It looked like a made-for-TV kind of movie. It felt like everybody was phoning in their performance. Even Pierce Brosnan didn't seem like he's really interested to be there. And even though the initial location was cool of being in France at the Palace of Versailles and showing some of the gardens, I liked that environment. I thought that was a cool idea. It just didn't fully flesh out any of this story here. The romance in it was kind of meh. And the mermaids in it that are supposed to be the really cool part of the movie, bring in those fantasy elements, we didn't get to see much of them at all. They had no lines of dialogue. And they just didn't really show off the world of the mermaids until like the very end of the movie. I'm like, I wanted to see more of that movie. Where's that movie going to go? Is there going to be a sequel where we can see more of those locations? Have some more of these fantasy elements at play? Because with what they gave us, just completely a forgettable story that didn't have much impact and just wasn't the best quality. Definitely not a 7-year quality film here.
Because they didn't want the world to know her real name. But her legacy lives on.
Now to get into my number 3 spot, and that's going to be The 355. Now this movie had some potential. I was ready for a good action spy thriller of a movie, and this was just meh. It wasn't terrible, not like The King's Daughter and Redeeming Love. I mean, compared to those, this could be a masterpiece. But for a action spy thriller movie, I just wanted it to be better. I wanted it to be a good movie. It's tough to get good action movies these days. And this movie just was blah. No standout performances here. They didn't go to a lot of awesome locations. And the worst part of this movie is that we really didn't get to connect to each individual character. they never gave us enough backstory to really buy into each of these characters' motives and to get an emotional connection with them, so that way we care about them when things get serious towards the end of the movie. It just wasn't there. And that just made for a lackluster kind of movie. Even Sebastian Stan, the Winter Soldier, could not save this movie here. It was just a very generic action movie that is going to be totally forgettable overall. Now, there was a couple okay action sequences. Once they got to the auction part of the movie started to pick up a little bit there, but it just wasn't enough in this movie for me to consider it a good action spy thriller. It's just kind of at the average level.
What do you think you'll find beyond the smoke?
Now to get into my number 2 spot, and I'm happy to report there were a couple good movies in January, which I was so surprised with, but at number 2 is going to be Poop Pal of Chimney Town. Now, yes, this is a movie that most people probably have never heard of, but it was an anime movie that was just released in US theaters. It has been out before in Japan, but now we finally got it to the US theaters, and it was just a great viewing experience for me. I really wasn't expecting anything out of it, but it had some heart to it. There were some emotions to this movie, and it's a family anime movie, but it had a lot of fantastical elements. So my eyes were glued to the screen, just seeing what was going on, and it just looked gorgeous for animation. It just looked really cool, and they completely fleshed out this chimney town. They explained the backstory with it. They made you care about each of the characters, and the characters had good relationships with each other, and you saw how their bond grew over time and their connections, and they felt like real people, even though this is an anime movie. So real connections here, real relationships, and a compelling story, and it ends in a very intriguing and awesome way. So to me, it was a very engaging movie, and I was pleasantly surprised with Poop Pal of Chimney Town. That one I do really recommend if you're an anime fan at all.
There's certain rules to surviving.
Now to get into my number 1 favorite choice, and this movie was so good. You guys already know it. It's gonna be Scream. Oh yeah, Scream, the new one, was amazing. I absolutely really liked this movie. I went and saw it twice in theaters this month just because I enjoyed my experience so much. It is a great sequel to the Scream franchise. What it does so well is it actually brings in a lot of great comedic elements. To me, this is the most funny out of any of the Scream movies, and that makes it a little bit more entertaining. Also, it's a brutal movie. You have shocking kills in the movie. You have jump scares that are actually good quality jump scares that you're not expecting, but they happen in a very natural way. And the story is very interesting, and you want to see who's going to survive, who's going to make it through this, right? Who's going to end up being the killers. And to me, the killer reveals were surprising to me. I wasn't guessing who the killers were going to be, so I think it pulled that off well. And it did have a lot of meta commentary, and I know Scream is known for that. To me, that was the one drawback, when it just kept going too meta at the very end of the movie. I think they just did it a little bit too much. They could have pulled it back just a little bit. But overall, I just thought it was a really good movie. It's my second favorite out of the Scream franchise now, right behind the original. And I just think it was a very fun movie, and that's what the movie theater experience is supposed to be about. Having a fun time, laughing with others in the theater, being scared with others in the theater, you know, just being shocked at the mystery of this movie as an audience together. It was just an awesome theatrical experience, and that's why I really like going to the movie theaters. And to me, Scream, just absolutely fantastic. And this is a 5th installment. We have to remember, hey, this is a 5th Scream movie, and for them to do so well with it, I was just overly pleased with this movie. Just thought it was wonderful.
It's an honor.
So that will do it for today's mega ranking of all 5 January theatrical releases that I saw in the theaters. Let me know in the comments below, what was your favorite January release? What did you have the most fun experience with? Let's have those fun movie discussions down below. And now we are finally out of the month of January, and I'm so excited for all the new movies I'm going to be able to review for y'all. So make sure you subscribe right now if you're just discovering the channel, because you're going to get all those movie reviews, movie rankings, movie news, movie haul videos. I don't want you to miss out on any of that movie entertainment value. So make sure you subscribe right now and also turn on that notification bell because I post often. Also like the video. And this is Mega Mike the Movie Man reminding you to make every day a movie day.